practice packet FSA video 1. Get excited. This is going to be a fun-filled 15 so minutes. I'll try and make it as quickly as possible, as painless as possible. I would like you to copy down the notes for each of these problems, especially if you missed one of these problems as you go through. I want you to fully understand how to do them. If you did get one of these questions correct and you don't have the work to show for it, I would like you to copy down what I have written down for these problems, for that particular problem. Okay, so we can go ahead and get started. It says a machine packs boxes at a constant rate of 2/3 of a box every half minute. Okay, what is the number of boxes per minute? That means per 1 minute that the machine packs. So I'm going to turn this into a proportion. We want to figure out how much for just 1 minute, and we are solving for x. So what we need to do is we need to cross multiply and divide by the other number. So 2/3 times 1 gives me 2/3, and 2/3 divided by 1/2. We need to keep the first fraction, and we need to multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction, which means we need to flip the second fraction, and then multiply straight across. 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 1 is 3. Notice that this is not an option as one of our answer choices. That is because we need to turn it into an improper fraction. 3 goes into 4 one whole time, and we have 1 left over. If you can't do that part in your head, you can always put the top number in the house and divide by the bottom number. 3 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract and we get 1. When you have a remainder, remember you can't just put remainder or R1. You need to bring up your remainder and your divisor will follow. So 1 and 1/3. So your answer choice here is D. Okay, make sure to pause this video if you need to write any of this information down. Okay, the fountain in the pond at the public park near Kevin's house has a pump that recirculates 75 gallons of water in 1/4 of an hour. 1/4 is 0.25. You can leave it as a fraction, and that's fine too. Whatever works for you. We left the last one as a fraction just because there was a fraction in the top number, sorry, in the numerator. So it says express this rate as a unit rate in gallons per hour. That means per 1 hour. Unit rates always have a denominator of 1, and we are looking for the number of gallons. So that is our x value. So remember, again, we're going to cross multiply. 7 times 1. We can actually cross multiply both ways, and this will help us in solving our equation here. So 25 times x is 25x. 75 times 1 is 75. And 25 hundredths x is 25 hundredths x. We want to do the opposite of what it is telling us. Right now, x is being multiplied by 0.25, and we want to do the opposite of that and divide both sides by 25. I mean 0.25. Sorry. Okay, so we are left with x on the right, and 75 divided by 0.25. You can do this part in your calculator, and that gives us 300. 300 is not our answer here. That is just what x is equal to. It wanted a unit rate, so that means we need to have a denominator of 1, and we need to make sure that our units are involved here. So 300 were the number of gallons per 1 hour. You could also write that as 300 gallons per hour. And that would also be correct. Okay, make sure to write all of this down in your notes section or on your paper even. Okay, it says select each option that represents a proportional relationship between x and y. Remember, proportional relationship passes through 0, 0. Okay, a proportional relationship is a straight line. a straight line that passes through 0, 0, and it does not have a y-intercept. So we need to start by dividing our y's by our x's to figure out if we have a constant of proportionality. And if we do, then that would represent a proportional relationship between x and y. So 6 divided by 1.5 is 4. So we'll do it maybe this way. 6 divided by 1.5 is 4. 13 divided by 3.25, which is 3 1/4 as a decimal. 13 divided by 3.25, this is 4. I'm doing this on my calculator as well. You guys can also do that. 28 divided by 7 is 4. Okay, so notice that we got 4 each time. That is our constant proportionality, so this is correct. Now we're not done yet because it said select each option, which means there is going to be more than one. Anytime it says select each option, know that it is going to be more than one answer. If they just wanted to choose one answer, they would have worded the problem differently. So there is going to be at least more than one. So this next one, let's divide 1 divided by 4, which gives us 0.25. 2 divided by 5, and that gives us 0.4. So we already know that this is not going to be a constant of proportionality, so B is not correct. Okay, the next one does not have plus anything. It does not have a number out here after our x. So this is correct. C is going to be correct because 7/8 is our slope, and if we have nothing else, if we're adding 0 to this, that means that that's our y-intercept, and it crosses through 0 on the y-axis, which means it's going to cross at 0, 0. D is not correct because it crosses at +1 on the y-axis. So D is not going to pass through 0, 0 or our origin. E is also not correct because it does not pass through 0, 0, 0, 0 is down here. It does not pass through 0, 0. And F is correct because it does pass through 0, 0. Okay, so A was correct, C was correct, and F was correct. Remember to pause this video if you need to slow things down or write things down. It says this table shows a proportional relationship, so it told us that there was a proportional relationship here. What is the constant of proportionality between x and y as a decimal? Remember to find the constant of proportionality. Constant of proportionality. We just divide y divided by our x. That's it. Sometimes they will have it constant of proportionality represented with a k. So k equals y divided by x. Okay, so let's divide our y divided by our x. So 1.25 divided by 2, and that gives us 0.625. Now I would double check just to make sure that the rest of these are going to be the same. I wouldn't do all of them because the problem already told you that they are constant, that they have a proportional relationship. So I just wanted to do 2 just so we could double check. So our constant proportionality is 0 and 625 thousandths. Okay, which equation has the constant of proportionality equal to 4? I'm going to do each one of these. I'll start with A. So if we've got 4y equals 4x, we want y by itself so we can see if it has a constant of proportionality of 4. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4, and y is equal to 4 divided by 4, which is 1, times x. So A is not correct because we want the number in front of x to be 4, not 1. We want it to equal 4. So let's go to B. B says 4y equals 12x. We want to divide both sides by 4 again because we want y by itself. Oops, I apologize. I have family getting in touch with me. We'll just let that ring it out. Oh, that helped. Sorry. So we have y is equal to 12 divided by 4, which is 3, and 3 times x is 3x. So again, our number in front of x, our coefficient in front of x, is 3, and it's supposed to be 4. So B is also not correct. C says 3y equals 4x. We want to divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 times y is y. And 4/3 x is not equal to 4. So C is also incorrect. So I'm thinking D has got to be correct, but let's do it just to make sure. 3y equals 12x. We want to divide both sides by 3 to get y by itself. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 times y is y. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. So 4 times x. Now our coefficient in front of x is 4. So for this problem, it is correct. Our answer choice is D. Okay. Okay, this next problem says a store owner has paid $15 for a book. She marked up the price of the book by 40%. That means that she's paying for 100% of the book already, and she's adding 40% to it to mark it up. So she wants to determine its selling price by using this formula. So she wants to mark it up by 140%. Not mark it up, sorry. She's not marking it up by 140%. She already had 100% of the book, and she's marking it up by 40%. So when we add those together, we get 140%. Okay, so we need to multiply 15 times 140%. I'm actually going to change this. We are still marking it up by 140%, but the way I've taught you guys with this is as a proportion. Okay, so we want to find out what the new selling price is. That's going on top. Our 15 is our original. That's going on bottom. Our percent goes over 100 always. So 15 times 140, you can do that in your calculator. Okay, and that's going to be equal to 100 times x, which is 100x. 15 times 140 is 2100, and 100 times x is 100x. We're going to divide both sides by 100. This cancels, and we are left with x is equal to 2100 divided by 100, which gives us 21. So the price of the book is $21. That is the selling price. 40% marked up. Okay. The amount Sandy earns from babysitting is proportional to the number of hours she works. The graph represents this proportional relationship. Remember, a proportional relationship means that it forms a straight line, and that line passes through the origin, which is at 0, 0. Okay, it says explain what the point 0, 0 represents in the context of this problem. That means we have to see what it is we're talking about. It's called a It's called a babysitting graph. Over here is the y-axis, which is talking about our earnings in dollars, and the x-axis is the time she worked in hours. So 0, 0 represents $0 earned for 0 hours worked. Okay, to put that's not actually a sentence, so to put it in a sentence, Sandy worked 0 hours and earned $0 Okay? It says, explain what the point 645 represents in the context of this problem. Same problem. We're still talking about Sandy, and we're still talking about her hours that she's worked and the amount of money that she's made. So the x-axis, if we have these two numbers, this is our x and this is our y. In the problem, our x-axis represented the number of hours. Oops. Can't spell hours. Number of hours she worked, and y represented the amount of money she earned. So our x value is representing 6 hours that she worked. And she made, in those 6 hours, $45. So let's put this into sentence form. Sandy worked 6 hours. Oh my goodness. Happened again. And earned $45. Okay, this says a recipe that makes 16 cookies calls for 1/4 cup of sugar and 2/3 cup of flour. So 1/4 cup of sugar and 2/3, oops, that was big, cup of flour. And this makes 16 cookies. Okay? It says Janelle wants to proportionally increase, that means increase them all the same amount, to get a new recipe using 1 cup of sugar. This is paramount, 1 cup of sugar. Because we already know that the amount of sugar that we use for this one recipe is 1/4 of a cup of sugar, which means we have to multiply that times 4 in order to get 1 cup of sugar. So 1/4 times 4, we multiply times 4 to get our 1 cup of sugar. So if we multiply times 4 to get the 1 cup of sugar, then we need to multiply the other things in this problem by 4. A says, using the new recipe, how much flour should she use? Well, we have to multiply the amount of flour times 4 since we multiplied the cup of sugar, the 1/4 cup of sugar times 4. So 2/3 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes into 8. Let me do this in blue. 3 goes into 8 2 whole times with 2 left over. Again, if you need to do that by putting 8 in the house and dividing by 3, 3 goes into 8 2 times, that's 6. And we're left over with 2. Bring your 2 up and your 3 will follow. 2 2/3. Either way you look at it, our answer is going to be 2 2/3 cup of flour. B says, how many cookies can she make with the new recipe? Well, the original recipe said she can make 16 cookies. We need to multiply that times the number 4 because we multiplied everything else in our problem by the number 4 times 4 times 4, and now we are multiplying times 4. So 16 times 4 gives us 64. So she can make 64 cookies with the new recipe. Okay? What is the unit rate of $240 in 4 days? Whenever it gives you that word unit rate, those words unit rate, make sure to set this up as a fraction. Okay, and then the first thing that comes up goes on top, and the second thing goes on bottom. Okay, so we want a unit rate, which means we need a denominator of 1. Unit rates always have a denominator of 1. We also need to make sure that we have our units, which means At the top, we're using dollars, and the denominator, we're using day or days. But we want it per 1 day. So here, when we're trying to solve for x, we cross multiply both ways. 240 times 1 is equal to 4 times x. 240 times 1 is 240. And we want to divide both sides by 4 because right now x is being multiplied times 4. So to solve this, we need to do the opposite and divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times x is x. 240 divided by 4 gives us 60. Now, 60 is not just our answer because it wants a unit rate. It wants a denominator of 1. So, and we have to have units because it's called a unit rate because it wants us to use units. So it is 60, and we're talking about dollars, $60 for 1 day. You could have said that a few different ways. $60 per 1 day. $60 in 1 day. As long as you have the 60 and the dollar amount and 1 and the word day, you should be good with that problem. It says, what is the slope of the line from the table below? Remember slope, we want to divide our y by our x. And when we have 0, 0, we are not going to be working with that because 0 divided by 0 is going to be 0. And that's not going to be the same for every other one of our x and y values for this problem. But for the rest of them, we want to divide our y by our x. So 3 divided by 4 gives us 0.75. 6 divided by 8 gives us 0.75. And 9 divided by 12 gives us 0.75. So our slope is 0.75. And if you're writing this in slope-intercept form, it would be y equals 0.75x. And slope is always the coefficient in front of x. So that is our slope, 0.75. I mean 0.75. Ah! Okay. Last problem. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Cross multiply here to solve for y. 4 times y is 4y. 36 times 2 gives us our other side. Okay, we want to solve this by first multiplying 36 times 2, which gives us 72. And 4y, we need to bring that down. And right now, y is being multiplied times 4, and we want to do the opposite and divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times y is y. And 72 divided by 4 is going to give us our answer. 4 goes into 72. 4 goes into 7 one time. We have 3 left over. Bring down our 2. 4 goes into 32 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. I don't have my calculator readily available right now. Otherwise, I used my calculator. Okay, in this particular problem, our answer is just going to be that 18 because it is just asking us what number our y is equal to. It did not ask us for a unit rate. It did not ask us for a proportion. It did not ask us for anything other than the number that is equal to y. Okay, you guys did awesome today. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow.